Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me, Paul, here on my YouTube channel. Today is, what is today? Thursday, September 17th. And got some rain today. Maybe it stopped now, though, but the rain doesn't seem to. It seems to rain every day here now. I don't know. So, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. I'm a little tired. Looking forward to the weekend. Are you looking forward to the weekend? That's something I want to talk about today, and maybe tomorrow, is weekend activities, weekend plans. Okay, things maybe you enjoy doing on the weekend, and maybe some things you don't like to do on the weekend. Some different activities, like how often do you relax on the weekend? How often do you drink on the weekend? How often do you watch TV on the weekend? How often do you go bowling, sing, shop, hike, play computer games, visit family, dance, play sports, listen to music, have snacks, go to a cafe? Could be so many different things. So, sleep in, like sleep extra, maybe like that. So yeah, could be lots of things you enjoy doing on the weekend. I wanted to talk a little about sports to begin with. So, you play a lot of sports, right? Like, it's common for us to say that you play basketball, play soccer, play badminton. And, you play table tennis, baseball, volleyball. Okay? But you don't say that you play swimming or play skiing. You don't play those. We actually, instead for some sports and activities, we go swimming, we go skiing, we go hiking. Like you go running, you go skating, you go fishing. Okay. The activities that we go to do, they all end, as you can maybe see here, with ing. They use a gerund. The verbs ending with ing. Swimming, skiing, hiking. A good way to think about it is you go to do these activities that are usually in some sort of special place. You have to go somewhere to do them. You have to go to the sea, or a swimming pool, a water park, to go swimming. You have to go to a place. You can't, unless you have a swimming pool at home. Do any of you have a swimming pool at home? Yeah, maybe not. If you do, you're lucky. I wish I had a swimming pool at home. But most people have to go somewhere to go swimming. Same, skiing. You have to go to a mountain in the wintertime. And hiking, you go to a mountain. So yeah, it's sports that you play, usually you don't have to go someplace special. Yes, there are basketball arenas and soccer stadiums, right? You go see a basketball game or a soccer game. But you can play basketball, soccer, badminton, baseball. You can play them anywhere, almost. Unless if there's a place with a basketball hoop, You can play basketball. Soccer, you can play that on the street or in a park. Many people enjoy playing badminton at a park. They don't even use a net, right? The other thing with sports that you play is that they're either what you call team sports. They're team sports. Basketball, soccer, baseball, they're all team sports. You play on a team with other players. Something like badminton, it can be a team sport where you have a partner, but you could just be playing against someone. Excuse me. Water break. But in the case of any of these sports that you play, you want to score points to win. Okay? With swimming and with skiing, if you have a race, it's about the time. Who's the fastest? But you might, if you go swimming, if you go skiing, if you go hiking, you might not be racing. You might just be going for exercise. Okay. So yeah, we also use play when you're talking about games, computer games, card games, board games, smartphone games. And we use play for instruments. Play the guitar, play the piano, play the saxophone. Okay. So yeah, a big part of this lesson is I want to talk to you about how often you do things. And maybe I'll write that down on the board here. How often do you play badminton? How often do you go swimming? How often do you go shopping? How often do you sleep in? Okay. So, and maybe you know some of these already. I imagine you know some of them, if not all. These are the common prepositions of frequency we use. If you do something, one of these activities, every weekend, all the time, you always do this. You always do it. You always play badminton. You always walk your dog. You always go to a cafe on the weekend. If you do it most of the time, maybe not every weekend, but maybe most weekends, then you usually go to a singing room. You usually go hiking. You usually meet your friends. If it's something that you maybe some weekends you do, some weekends you don't, then we say you sometimes go bowling, sometimes play computer games, sometimes study English. If it's something you don't do very much, like not often, we say you rarely do that. You rarely go dancing, rarely play golf. And finally, if it's something you don't do, if you don't enjoy, no jam, you don't like it, you never do it. Now these are the most common prepositions of frequency. There's other ones too, pretty similar. Like if you have the textbook, you got the textbook right. If you have the textbook, they say there's a little difference between usually and often, but they're pretty close. Usually and often, or similar, I would say. There's other ones, like maybe sometimes a similar one is to say, occasionally. I occasionally take a trip on the weekend. A similar one to rarely is seldom. We might sometimes say almost always. Almost always, which is, pretty much like usually. Almost always. Hardly ever. Pretty similar to rarely when we say hardly ever. Nice, interesting one that's a little bit different from the rest. Not in your textbook, this is extra. Is to use the preposition regularly. Regularly. Things you do regularly may not be often, but they're things you still do, like kind of when you need. Going to the hair salon to get your hair cut. If you get you would get your hair cut regularly. You don't get your hair cut, you don't get your hair cut often, but you get your hair cut regularly. So in that case, it would be like every, 2 months maybe? I don't know. Go to the dentist, the tooth doctor, the dentist. You should go to the dentist regularly. Once a year, or twice a year maybe, like that. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. You don't, this is one maybe you don't need to have really. Maybe if you can try to use it in some way in like a homework or speaking activity, I might give you some bonus points for using a preposition like regularly. But the important ones really are always, usually, sometimes, rarely, never. Okay. So yeah, let's see. It can be helpful. Maybe I should erase some of these. Don't wanna. Sorry, just a moment. I erased a little bit more than I should have. Okay. So if we just look back at these ones, it can kind of be helpful if you put a number. So something that you always do is 100%. Every time. And never is 0. Sometimes you might want to put numbers with the other ones, but don't really try to use the numbers that much. It's not a rule. Like always is 100%, never 0, but the rest, it might depend. It might depend on the activity. Like in the textbook, rarely might be if you do something once a week. But that depends. Because if I say, I often eat bibimbap, okay? Or maybe I'd say sometimes. Yeah, I sometimes eat bibimbap. That might be once a week, but it could be less even. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe at most I eat bibimbap once a week, but it could be once every 2 weeks. But I would still say that sometimes. I sometimes have bibimbap. with a food, I might say that I rarely eat changgukjeong. I think that's a good example. I rarely eat changgukjeong. Like some places, it's not delicious. So I like it sometimes, but not very much. Maybe I have changgukjeong once a year, twice a year, at most. But I could still say I rarely eat it. It's not common for me. Actually, maybe we can go through a food for each one. So, what's a food you always eat? Maybe you always eat kimchi? You always eat rice? Every day? Maybe twice a day or even 3 times a day? Some Koreans eat rice or kimchi 3 times a day. Not me. Like if we just talk about the different meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I might say, for example, I never eat rice for breakfast. I always have some fruit and yogurt, cereal, coffee. For lunch, I sometimes have rice for lunch. And maybe the same for dinner too. I sometimes have rice for dinner. But yeah, like I say, with breakfast, I always have coffee with breakfast. And I usually have fruit for breakfast. So, yeah, like you'd say something that you always eat that's very common. So things like rice and kimchi, and maybe also favorite foods. Hopefully not an unhealthy food. Do you always eat chicken? No, but on weekends, because a lot of this is talking about weekends. How often do you eat chicken on the weekend? Like my case, I'd probably say sometimes. Sometimes have chicken on the weekend. Maybe you? Maybe some people always have chicken on the weekends. Or pizza. Again, sometimes. Yeah. Do you drink on the weekends? Do you always drink beer and soju on the weekends? Yeah, I'm again, sometimes. A lot of things are sometimes. But, yeah. But yeah, try not to, like the numbers I think are most helpful just with always and never. Sometimes is usually said as being like 50. And it's close to that. If you have something sometimes, it's maybe 1 week you have it, 1 week you don't, or whatever. But it depends. It depends on the thing depends on the thing. It depends on the food. Like I said, with bibimbap, I might have it once a week or once every 2 weeks. But I'd still say maybe I sometimes have bibimbap. Okay. So yeah, there's going to be a little homework activity that I'd like you to do with this. And I've actually provided numbers here so you can try to match them with the prepositions. So always is 100, usually is 80, sometimes is 50, rarely is 20, and never is 0. But as I say, it depends on the situation using those numbers. So, like in the case of the first question, I'll write down the first one as an example. Let me just erase this. So this is number one on the homework that we can just do as a little example. There's 10 of these. 10 of these sentences. So I want you to write the correct preposition of frequency in the answer. Just the 5 common ones. Always, usually, sometimes, rarely, and never. So the first case, it's I meet my friends on Saturdays. And it says 80%. So maybe 80% is most of the time. So the correct answer would be usually. I usually meet my friends on Saturdays. Okay? So you can, yeah, should be pretty simple. Shouldn't be too difficult. There's also a part with 5 questions in which I'd like you to answer, and try to answer with a full sentence if you can. Again, the first question is similar to this one I just showed you. How often do you meet friends on Saturdays? It's better if you can try a full sentence. Just write this question down again. Number 1, how often yeah, how often do you meet your friends on Saturdays? So, it's okay if you write, I mean, just writing the answer like that usually is okay. It's better than nothing. But you get a better score if you can try to write a full sentence. I usually meet my friends on Saturdays. Didn't explain this before, but I will quickly. The preposition of frequency, always, usually, sometimes, rarely, and never, usually goes right after the subject of the sentence. I usually meet my friends. He sometimes goes drinking. She rarely eats seafood. They always play basketball. He never goes to see movies. Okay, so it should go right after the subject. I, you, he, she, we, or they. Sometimes can be a little bit different. We can say sometimes I go shopping. We can put sometimes at the start of a sentence, but it's best if you just put it right after the subject. Okay, tomorrow we will have a one-on-one Kakao Talk interview class. We weren't able to do the Zoom thing last week, and I think I'd like to just do one-on-one instead of a big Zoom lesson together. I want to try one-on-one to start. So tomorrow there'll be one-on-one lessons, and so our class time tomorrow is from 11:40. Is that correct? 11:40 until 1 p.m. Is that right? I'm just going to look that up to make sure. I'm always mixing up my different classes. Sorry. 잠시만요. Yeah, 11:40 till 1 p.m. During our class time, you can call me, and maybe I'll set this so you can even call a little bit earlier. If anybody wants to maybe call me from 11, maybe that's okay. So have kind of a 2-hour window in there. The interviews will be 5 minutes. I'll just ask you some questions. That's basically all. It's, I think pretty simple, pretty easy. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to ask you some questions about this, about how often you do things. And so you can try to give me answers, and it's better if you try to answer with a full sentence. But it is our first, this is our first speaking activity, so I'll try to be nice. Yeah, I will post how you can contact me. I'll send my phone number and my Kakao ID. And then you can contact me. So yeah, I'd like for you to call me when you're ready. Okay. You can call me. Got it? Okay. If you have some kind of question, if you have problems with this, please let me know, and maybe we can make another plan or something. But yeah, please call me. If you don't have Kakao, you can just call me on your phone, but I think everybody has Kakao, so. And it would be video call, so yeah. Not just speaking, but I'll also see you, so. Okay. So that's gonna be all. Yeah, the homework is just 1 page, so please try to do that for next week. And that'll be it for now. So I'm looking forward to talking to all of you tomorrow. Okay? Hope you have a great day, and see you next time. Bye!